is mesmerizing and devastating all at once. It has just the right touch of mania and supernatural element to it, while not deterring or taking away from the topic of domestic violence and its impact on the psyche and the overall sense of self-worth of an individual. We see a woman reclaiming her autonomy here, but at what cost?
Was really heartbreaking to watch, but I think it was executed and done really well. It's really crazy that it's based on a true story because, of course, stuff like this happens all the time where women and men are warped into very abusive and manipulative relationships that ultimately lead to some kind of demise in the worst way. I think just from the opening monologue, his manipulation is so potent, and he really does believe that he's saving her and that she owes him everything and that she's lucky to be all his, which is already, of course, a recipe for a disaster if someone who wants to be your partner is saying stuff like that. So it was so crazy. Um, and I think executed very well. I liked the use of the bed and the bed sheets as a ghost, which is really cool because whether he's there or not, she always kind of feels this terrible presence over her that feels like it's taking control of her, it's taking over her life. And she's very much so unable to avoid it. And it's leaving her drained and exhausted and scared all the time. I liked the use of colorization with throughout the whole piece. I think her being very gray and having no color, kind of lackluster, was really cool and a great comparison to everything else, which was more colorful, more vibrant, and whatnot. Just to kind of to show that a lot of her life has been taken out of her because of this man. I thought that was really really cool. And I also really likes kind of towards the end where she's basically imagining everything that she wishes she could do to get away from him, which, when she pulls out the knife, when she's kind of ready to stab him and whatnot, ready to kind of like, take control of herself. But then that image of the ghost comes back and, he's reaching for a hug as if kind of trying to apologize. And she unfortunately does take him back and gives the hug and kind of shows that he still has the power over her. That at least that's how I interpreted it, and I thought that was really great and executed really well.
It was a really cool way to represent emotional abuse, using the bed sheets and having her hug the bed sheets at one point, showing that although she's being abused by someone that she loves, and so she feels very trapped in this relationship and in this abuse. Um, this film had some amazing acting in it from our main actress. I loved the tone and the cinematography with the soft lighting in this film, made it really beautiful. Um, I like the fact that we don't see her abuser and her boyfriend until the very end of this film. And the end of this film becomes very ambiguous, especially with the murder of her boyfriend. We're not sure if this is all happening in her head or if it's something that's actually happening, which I enjoyed that aspect of not knowing exactly what's happening. Um, yeah, the end where she's all alone in the darkness was also really powerful to see at the end of this film. Um, I loved all of the silence in this film as well. There's not a ton of dialogue, but the silence speaks the most in what we're seeing in those moments. And the acting especially was so well done in these moments. Really getting inside her head and seeing her true feelings about this relationship. And
it had really impressive special effects, good lighting, moody colors that contribute to the tone excellently. I thought that the lead gave a great performance. I felt the tension she was feeling throughout, and at the climax, I felt her fear and sheer terror as she's being grabbed and attacked. I really like the line, "Time is such a curious thing. Days drag by, but the years seem to just fly by." Best to keep that in mind and make the most of it. And how they bring that in both at the beginning and at the end to make it come full circle. I didn't really expect the filmmakers to go so dark with it, but it was a nice twist seeing her pull out the knife and realizing that's what that was all about. And then how she embraces the ghost figure like she's embracing her inner demons. That was really interesting. And there's a lot of different meanings that you can take from that, which I think is cool.
A lot of focus on time in this piece. Very interesting ways that they did that. The use of close-ups were very visually appealing. Like close-ups of blood spilled or close-up of the mop cleaning up. You have several close-ups of clocks. Um, even the way that the shots were visually implemented, so we noticed the time in almost every shot, or even the way time was brought up consistently in the dialogue. It always made me feel as if this character is running out of time. Um, some other things to note for me was the scene where she's lifted in the air. Very interesting how they achieved this. I thought it was a great acting performance from this actress. She had to go through such a wave of different emotions and had a very clear arc.
The story was super intriguing and engaging. The color palette, the green and the blue hues created this thriller, suspense feeling that works really well for the themes and the concept of the story. And even though that this isn't a thriller or suspense story, but the dramatic issues that the story was focusing on, it really ties everything together. I love how this film tackles the real life issues of abuse, and not just any abuse, but emotional abuse, which is something that often gets swept under the rugs because not a lot of people take it as serious as it should be. I like how we don't see the boyfriend's face at first, but immediately we understand the themes around the film and how it manifests in the form of the blanket moving or falling down, for example.
The story is told out of order, which leads you to piece things together, and eventually you realize at the end the true meaning. But because things were told in the way they were, because you're making a lot of assumptions and inferences, I feel like you get to learn more about your protagonist through it. So for the longest time, when I saw what I'm going to call the blanket ghost, I saw that as more of a metaphor of the past relationship, what could have been. All of the negativities harbored inside this blanket, but then you find out that he died, and it becomes both very a symbolic ghost and a quite literal ghost as well. But yeah, it was very fascinating that because of the order this story was told, it forces you to, on the fly, keep coming up with different theories and looking deeper into it while you're trying to find the answer of what's going on.
Well, it's a very serious, very moving piece to know that is based on a true story. And, the depiction of the despair she's going through is very hard. And, and we're also dealing with a ghost and sort of horror element here and a shocking thriller kind of things happening. So, we got a lot of different tones and different things happening in this film. The actress did a really good job. The lead actress was very, very good, very natural, a lot of history on her face, just the way you could see in her performance that she's really going through something. She's really been through something.